I'm Shauna, and this is Wade. This is my co-host. So I decided I would start a podcast. This is my first episode, and we'll just see how it goes, won't we?
Yeah.
Okay. So we live in Tennessee on a farm. Is there anything you want to say about where we live?
Alpine, Tennessee. She's already said it.
And he helps his daddy farm. I teach high school chemistry. And I've been knitting for quite a while and sewing and doing all sorts of other stuff. But this winter I decided I would really learn how to knit a bunch of different variety of things. So I have several finished objects just because I've been knitting a lot this winter. So I thought I would start there. Wade thinks I should start with these because he says they're very pretty. So this is the first ever pair of socks that I made back in, I think, February. And what kind of yarn was this? This was Cascade Heritage Prints, and I don't know the color. But anyways, I used the Winwick Mum Sock Along pattern. Has a little heel flap and a gusset, which I really did not like. It was kind of complicated. I don't know. I had a lot of trouble with the heel flap and gusset. But anyhow, they're slightly big. I knit them on a 3mm needle. And I really wish I had went down a needle size. But this is what the lady at the store told me to get. So I got it. But anyway, I wear them. They're comfy and soft. And that's about all I want to say about that, I guess. Something else I did this winter was this hat. And, can you see it? It has a really cool, I'm not very good at this. It has a really cool texture pattern. I think it's called the Smocked hat. And I can't remember who it's by. It's on Ravelry. It's a paid for pattern though. And,
Do you want me to go back it out and leave it at one screen?
yeah, if you want to. And there's also a headband, I mean not a headband, but an ear warmer that pattern that you can also get to match that. So I've actually made the ear warmer. I just made it last winter. I stored it. But oh, thank you. The yarn that I used for this, I think it was Plymouth yarns. No, it was Eco Cloud or Echo Cloud. Eco, I guess. It's baby alpaca and merino. I think merino wool. Ouch. And it's super soft. It does get a little fuzzy, this yarn does, but I think that's the alpaca. I've not knit with alpaca a whole lot, but anyways, I just got this yarn at a local yarn store we have. Well, the only local yarn store that we have. And I've actually made a couple of things with this. Actually, I made a hat a couple years ago, the exact same color and pattern, and I totally lost it. I don't know where it went to. So I made another one this year, even though it ended up not being cold enough to need a hat very much. So the winter was quite disappointing in Tennessee this time, which is why I started making socks, and then knitted socks led to, you know, knitting everything else. And let's see, what else did I make this winter? Oh, made this hat this winter. I got this yarn in Ohio when we was visiting some relatives, let's see, a couple years ago. And I have no idea what kind of yarn this is. It's wool, non-washable wool. And this is the Atwater hat. I don't know who it's by. It's on Ravelry. So I got this pattern last winter, and I actually made another hat with it last winter and gave that one to my grandma. The other hat was blue, yellow, green, yellow, and blue, I think. So anyways, I had a lot of the yellow and blue yarn left over, so I decided to make a hat with like this color. I may end up adding a pom-pom.
So you forgot something?
Your hat? Well, I made your hat a couple years ago. It's already put up for the winter.
Yeah, I don't want you to do it too.
You want to? Well, we'll get it the next time. And may add a pom pom. I'm not sure yet. But anyways, I made this. It was already too warm to wear it. By the time I got it finished, I might need to try to block it to make it lay a bit smoother. I don't know. But I really like this pattern. It's pretty easy. It's the first thing I did with, I guess it would be called Fair Isle. I don't know. But anyways, the color work here, it was actually quite easy to do. And you just have like a few rows of color work here and there, and then nothing complicated or anything. Let's see here. I think the pattern called for a 2x2 rib, but I decided to do 1x1. That's just personal preference. And then easy decreases. So it's really easy pattern if you want to try that out. It's worsted weight. Size 7 or 8 needles, I don't remember. But anyways, I just used whatever needle was called for in the pattern. This is the next second pair of socks I made. And I did these probably February also. I don't know. I got like a little obsessed there for a bit. And, you know, constantly knit socks for like a month. So anyways, this is the yarn. Is Cascade Heritage Wave. And where's the thing at? So it fades from gray to red and then back, and it's got some white mixed in there, so it's kind of like mottled, I don't know. The only problem I have with this yarn is I thought it faded like gray to red to gray to red, and like, you know, would go back and forth a lot. It doesn't. It just goes from gray to red. So, therefore, I have one red and gray sock and one just gray sock. But, you know, it's okay. I don't care. The top parts match pretty kind of evenly, kind of well, sort of. So, whenever I'm wearing them...
parts too, so...
Well, see, one's red and one's gray. So,
yeah, but
whenever...
this one here is...
Yeah, the toes are different. Whenever I'm wearing them, it doesn't really matter. Now, this pattern... I really should have started the podcast sooner because I've already wore these socks and washed them, and you know, this yarn is not really wearing too well. I don't know that I would ever. It's really, really soft. I don't know that I would buy it for socks again though. Definitely would buy it. It would make a good hat. It was very, very soft, isn't it, buddy?
Yep.
So maybe, I mean, it's
what?
20.
Wow.
Sorry, I don't know what I said.
It
Yeah.
is soft.
It's 75% merino, 25% nylon, but it's really fuzzed up on the heel part. I don't like that. So I may not make socks out of this again. I don't know yet. Actually, you know, I won't, because I started like dyeing my own, so I'll probably just get that. But anyway, this makes a very good hat, I think, because it's very, very, very soft. And I'm filming this on my iPad, and I'm going to have to get used to this, because I'm looking at my face, but then my eyes seem to be shooting off to the side. So, I don't know, I'm not a very good videographer here. But the pattern, you can see, has a very awesome, like, diamond texture in it. Let's show it down here on the red, because I think it shows up better. I think this pattern would show it better. Is it focusing?
I don't know.
I think this pattern would show it better on lighter color, because you can see it better on the red section versus the gray. Now, Wade, you're going to have to get out of the way there, bub. So, you can kind of see it there, I think. This pattern is the gravel socks, and it's part of the Beyond Vanilla collection by Mina Phillips, also known as the Knitting Expat. And I really, really, really love her patterns, her sock patterns. I really only knit from her sock patterns, but she has some really pretty other patterns as well. But anyways, they're easy to follow. Each of the socks in the Beyond Vanilla collection. They're very easy, and this one's not very versatile. Like, I mean, not versatile, that's not the right. You can't really change this one. But the other ones, you could kind of adjust the pattern repeat to make a different look every time. Go play for a minute?
No.
Okay. So, I really like this pattern. I'll probably be making some more socks out of this pattern at some point. I'll probably use a lighter color yarn the next time I do this, just so the diamond pattern can show up a bit more. All it is knits and purls, so it's very, very easy. It does take a little bit of concentration to keep up with which row you're on when you're doing this one, but it's very easy. And I really like how her patterns have texture on the front, and then the back is plain stockinette, so it makes it a little, you don't get bored doing it, or, you know, overwhelmed or whatever. So you get a little bit of a break from the pattern and just plain stockinette on the back. That makes it pretty easy. This one I used her German short row heel. Yeah, that's included in the pattern. And if you buy the pattern, then you get a video tutorial if you need one. I like the way it fits. I don't really like doing the German short row heel. It just is. I had to rip it out like 3 times. I don't do the German short row anymore. I started doing the fish lips kiss heel. I may go back to the German short row at some point and try it again, but it takes a lot of counting. So therefore a lot of concentration. And I think I'm going to have to get rid of my co-host. He's acting silly. But anyways, if I waited for a time where I was by myself, I would never get a podcast. And, you know, I may never show this to anybody. I don't know yet. I've not decided. So, anyways, this is going to be short and sweet because he ain't going to leave me alone long enough to make a long podcast. Now, you got those 2 socks. And, oh, the needles. For these red-gray socks, I went down a needle size. So, I don't know, 2.5 maybe, I think. Yeah, the other ones were 3mm, so these were 2.5mm. And I used the Addy Turbo soft rockets or whatever, 40-inch, and I did those both of those pairs of socks 2 at a time. I'm having a little problem with my co-host. He is being very irritating at the moment. He's cute, but irritating. And so, you know, if I pay attention to somebody else, you know. So anyways, let's see here. This one, I did a German short row heel on this one also. And the pattern is the Grand Central socks from Mina, Phillip, her, what is it? The New York Sock Pattern Club. No, they don't need to know that Daddy's home. So the Grand Central socks, and it's got this nice little bump, and the way the way that she laid out the first pattern, it makes sort of okay, go see what Daddy's doing. It makes sort of a spiral, a diagonal pattern, and I just really love the way it looks. It was really easy pattern to memorize. Probably not the best yarn for this pattern because the little texture stitch, it got kind of tight, and this yarn is not very stretchy. It's 75% wool, 25% nylon, and 35% of that wool is BFL, which, if anybody like me, you know, I kept wondering what in the world are they talking about when they say BFL. Well, I looked it up, and it's a certain kind of sheep. Blue-faced Leicester, which is not spelled like Leicester. but that's how they pronounce it. I had to look that up also. And it's apparently very, very popular in Europe. So I joined a group on Facebook, the Winwick Mum Sock Along. I don't even know, like, where that is from. But anyway, they love this yarn. Like, that's all they talk about is the WYS yarn. And it's 4-ply. And apparently they really like BFL over there, like I said before. But anyways, it's not very stretchy. And these were knit on 2.5. These were knit on 2.5 millimeter needles. Same stitch count. Let's see, I do 56 stitches. Yeah. So all my socks have been 56 stitches. I think I wear like a size 7.5 or 8. Depends on what brand. But anyways, US 7.5 or 8 women's. And so 56 stitches seemed to work very well for me. Actually, the first 2 pairs of socks I showed, they're a bit large because the merino is stretchier, and I knit them on the first one on anyways, bigger needles. But anyways, so these 2 pairs are knit on the same size needle. This one's a little bit loose. This one's a little bit tight. So anyways, it's because the yarn just doesn't stretch that much. And therefore, that little texture stitch, that was hard to do on not stretchy yarn. I'm not gonna lie. I would definitely suggest you don't do that with wood or bamboo needles unless, you know, you knit looser than me or something. I also found myself knitting tighter with this yarn. Maybe that's why it doesn't stretch as much. But, like I said, I ordered 6 skeins. I'm going to use 1 for a shawl. I've already got it started, but I didn't bring it in here to show for the whips. Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to make 1 a shawl, and then there's really pretty self-strapping. I will do another pair of socks, but I'm going to try the 2.25 millimeter needles for the next pair of socks that I make out of this, and I'll cast on probably maybe a 64 stitch. I don't know. So anyway, apparently I'm kind of rough on my socks because they all fuzz up in the back. I've not worn them that much, but anyways, the heel is kind of fuzzed, so it'll be alright though. German short row heel, which I'm just not very good at this German short row heel. I always end up with holes. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but you can see the holes. So I've not been doing the German short row heel anymore. I've been doing the fish lips kiss heel, which I really, really like a lot better. So I guess that would bring us to the next. Get a sip of coffee. And I don't have any kind of cute mugs or anything. I just have a plain old Starbucks cup because, well, it keeps it from spilling if my kid knocks it over. It also keeps it warm for a while longer. And speaking of coffee, I got some Starbucks syrup, caramel syrup and mocha powder because I live 45 minutes from the nearest Starbucks. So therefore, I don't get to Starbucks very often. And I love Starbucks. I'm kind of addicted to coffee. So I went ahead and ordered the liter jug of caramel syrup and a little can of mocha powder. And so I make my own Starbucks now because, well, you know, 45 minutes away. We live way out in the country, like literally surrounded by farms. I'll do a little view in just a minute. Well, at the end of the podcast or whatever. So, anyways, next pair of socks. This is sock number 4. I think I finished these last month. But these, can you see the pattern? Yeah. So this is the cobblestone pattern by Mina Phillip also. This is from her Beyond Vanilla collection. This is also the first hand-dyed yarn that I ever purchased. And I love hand-dyed yarn, like seriously. I don't know if I'll buy any. Yeah, I'm sure I'll buy some regular yarn again, but hand-dyed yarn is, you know, the bomb, as they used to say. So Love, love, love this yarn. It's 80% merino, 20% nylon. And it came, I ordered it from Woolfiend on Etsy. It's called, the colorway is Winter is Coming, which I really love Game of Thrones. I didn't get to start watching Game of Thrones until probably like last March or something. I watched all of the seasons in a month. Like, seriously, the only thing I watched for a month every night. And I had to watch it on the iPad because I didn't have any way of watching the... I don't have HBO, but, you know, I kind of got somebody's HBO Go. It's probably not legal, is it? But, anyway, I did. So, I watched it. And then, I got caught up about the time that the season started last year. And now there's only, you know, a few episodes left. But, anyway, love the show. If you haven't watched it, check it out. So, this one, I did Phillip's Kiss Heel, which, if you don't already know, is a paid-for pattern on Ravelry, but it's just $1, and let me tell you, it is so worth it. She talks you through making a foot pattern. So, like, if you have a bunch of people in your family want you to make socks, you can make a foot pattern for everybody, label them, and then, you know, you have perfect fitting socks for everybody without having to try them on all the time. And it's also much easier to see how long the foot needs to be if you just, you know, put it over the cardboard instead of having to put it on your foot. This was knit on 2.25 millimeter needles, and I really like the fabric I get from the 2.25 millimeter better than the other bigger needles. So that's what I'm using for socks now. All these socks were knit 2 at a time, cuff down. So I started up here. I used, what is it? Estonian or double start cast on. You know, I need to get that book in just a minute. I'll show you the book. And so, I'll look it up in just a minute. But anyways, there for a while I was using something that the book calls, I got this book, Cast On Bind Off. Really, really cool. Yes, you can Google all the things that are in there, but, you know, it's nice, and this was before I had internet. I got it. And so, anyways, I really love this cast on. It's very stretchy, but it keeps its shape. So, and it's also easy to do. It's similar to the long tail cast on. It just has an extra little, like, twist in there. So, anyways, 2x2 rib, and I twisted the knit stitches, and I think that might make it a little bit stretchier, bounce back better. So, the only problem with these socks is I made the foot part of them a little bit short, so it kind of irritates me, because I really like these socks, but the foot's just, you know, like an inch too short or something. So whenever I wear them, you know, like, the heel don't line up where it's supposed to be, and that's a bummer. I don't know. I guess I could take them out and refix the toe. I just haven't. So, my son's back outside on the porch. I don't have anything to hold my iPad up. I'm using the iPad to film this, so I'm just propping it in the living room window and hoping for the best. I am a photographer. I'm not a videographer. I've never tried to learn very much about videoing stuff. I just don't really like the video part as much. And yes, I do have the big fancy camera, but I'm using my iPad. My big fancy camera don't have a flip out screen, so I figured I'd shoot the whole podcast with my, you know, head not even showing, my head cut off. So I just thought I would do this with the iPad. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, I may not ever be brave enough to show this online. Not that anybody would watch it. So now, let's see here. That's all those finished. Now this brings me to my favorite finished object I've ever knit, ever. and that is the Find Your Fade Shawl by Andrea Mowry of Drea Renee Knits. Yeah. So if you haven't heard about this pattern, I don't know, like, everybody is knitting this pattern. Just search it on Instagram or something, and there's like, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of posts. So anyways, the only problem with this pattern is it uses a lot of yarn. And I don't have a stash. Because, I mean, I have a stash of, you know, acrylic worsted for an Afghan that I may never finish. But I don't have a stash of awesome hand-dyed sock yarn. And I don't have money to go buy it. So, you know what I decided? I was just going to dye me some yarn up. So, I watched some YouTube videos because that's the best way to learn anything. And ordered some yarn from Wool to Dye For. I ordered the 80% wool, merino, 20% nylon, simply because that was the combination I got from Woolfiend, and I really liked that yarn, so I ordered the 80-20. And I ordered some dyes from Dharma Trading and gave it a go. There's also some really cool Facebook groups. What is that? The Art of Hand Dyeing. That's one Facebook group I'm in, and they're a lot of help. It's really awesome. I really, really love the yarn community. Everybody seems to want to support everybody. I really love it. So I decided to dye my own yarn. Everybody that on the Facebook group was very helpful, and I dyed it up and made me a Find Your Fade shawl. So this thing is huge, like huge, but anyways, I love it. Unfortunately, I got it finished, and it's just not been cool enough. I wore it one night outside. We ate outside, and it was slightly cool. I put it on, but, you know, maybe, I guess I'll just have to wait till the fall. But anyways, so the first color that I started out with is this dark blue and all white and everything. But this was the first color I ever dyed, ever. And it was supposed to be purple, but it turns out when you're dyeing, when you're using Caribbean blue and deep magenta, it takes more magenta than blue to make purple. So I did add some black to make it a little bit darker. But anyway, so we've got dark blue and teal and white and a little bit of black. I really love this color anyway, even though it's not purple. Yeah, it happens. So started with blue instead of purple, and then I dyed, the next skein of yarn I dyed was just plain old Caribbean blue, and I decided that'd be too much of a pop there between these two colors, so I took off, I split the skein in half and put some of this dark blue on it that was supposed to be purple, but it wasn't purple. So I splattered that around, and it's kind of, you know, splotchy. Is it showing up? I can't see. But anyways, it's kind of splotchy, dark blue and teal and turquoise. I started to name the colorways, but I'm not good at thinking up names. I really like Doctor Who, so I just decided to call this first one. It's bigger on the inside, because, you know, the TARDIS is blue. The second one really reminds me, it's kind of like not as bright on the screen as it is. The teal is not showing up quite as much in this light as it is in real life. But it reminds me of the episode, if you ever watched Doctor Who, where they travel to the planet Midnight, and he goes to see the Sapphire Falls. So this is Sapphire Falls. Because, you know, I just feel like that's what the Sapphire Falls would have looked like if he had, you know, actually made it there to see them. But, if you haven't watched that episode, you really need to, because it's one of my favorite. It's pretty creepy. One of the creepiest, but my favorite. So then, the next skein of yarn, I put in, some pale, purple, but it turned out to be half purple, half blue, which is perfectly fine. I love it. And it fades in very well. I just got lucky on that one though. So is it showing up purple? I don't know. I think this may not be the best spot because it's kind of washing, the still-in at the moment, it's kind of washing the colors out. Of course it is, it's 240, and you know, probably if I done this in the morning, the light would be a lot better. Or if I did it in the afternoon. Anyways, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. So did I name that one? I don't think I named. Oh yeah, I did. I named this one Kill the Moon because the episode from the 12th Doctor, I don't know what year that, I don't know when I watched this episode, but anyways, it was the one where they traveled to the moon, you know, the moon creature. Everybody that don't watch Doctor Who thinks I'm crazy when I try to explain it, so I'll just stop explaining it. If you watch the Kill the Moon episode, you'll get it. Next color, I finally figured out how to get purple. So if you're dyeing with deep magenta and Caribbean blue, you're going to have to add more magenta than blue. So the first thing I read said a 1-to-1 ratio. You're going to have, I don't know what ratio I ended up using, to be honest. You're just going to eyeball it. But you're definitely going to have more magenta than blue to make purple with those two colors. So I also raised the temperature more before I added in the blue purple. But this one, this color right here, I mixed it up and then kind of made, I finally got a purple and just kind of, you know, made some speckles. I don't know. I didn't know if it would turn out or not. I just kind of tried it. I gave it a go. And you know what? It's really my favorite color, I think. And so that one. Then the next one, I don't have a name for the other ones because I kind of, you know, lost my creativity. But the next one here, I used the same mixture of purple and I just used more of it. And let's see here. I used some gray in this one. And I ended up having to dye it over with more purple to make it more purple because, you know, I just wanted it to be purple. But anyways, so went from purple, then I got into pink, or magenta, which I love the magenta color here. And I ended up just having 6 colors instead of 7. So that's my fade, which probably didn't show very well. So get out of the way, buddy. Let me see if I can stand up and show it better. Okay. Yeah, watch out. So here is the fade. There. So you can you can see how huge this thing is. It's almost a blanket, to be quite honest. But anyways, it's supposed to have 7 colors. Well, I don't know if they're supposed to. It's not really supposed to. She puts in the pattern that you can have however many colors you want. But the pattern's written for 7 colors. I thought I would use 7 colors, but then whenever I got over here into this purple, I decided, you know, I just want 6 colors. I don't want to have to waste another thing of yarn because this uses a lot of yarn. I mean, I used 6. Not really 6. I don't know how much yarn I used. But anyways, I have a lot left over from this skein and a lot from this, well, half. I used 50 grams of the second color. So I have 50 grams left over, which I'll show you that in a minute. I have quite a bit of this color left over, but then, you know, I used up almost the whole skein of this purpley gray. And then the rest of them, the last 2 colors, because, you know, I just did 7, but anyway, or 6, I mean, I used up like practically all of those. I was actually running short of this pink, so whenever I got down to this part, you can see there's a little dip there. I had to start decreasing every row, because if I hadn't have decreased every row, I would not have had enough of this left, and I didn't want to add in just a few rows of another color. So anyways, I made it work. It'll be fine.
I'm just on this.
Yeah, you're doing a good job, honey. So anyways, the Find Your Fade shawl is really, really awesome, and this yarn is so soft. You can also try it with just 100% merino superwash. I would do superwash probably. But anyways, very soft. The only problem with this pattern is this lace. My mind had the hardest time with this lace. I mean, the lace looks really awesome, but it just kept confusing me. I kept getting off on the stitch count. I don't know why. I don't know why I kept getting off on the stitch count, but there was a whole lot of times where I had to, you know, fudge it and just make it work, because I just don't like to go back. I should have put in some lifelines or something, but I didn't. I made it work. It'll be fine. The first lace section, I seriously almost quit. The first lace section isn't quite as pretty as the others. But I almost started, I mean, if I made another one, I would just do the garter stitch all the way through. Because...
So is this one?
Yep, there's another lace section. The lace was just kind of irritating. I mean, I kind of got to where... I got to where it was easier, so maybe if I did another one, it would be easier. I don't know. I really don't know why. Maybe because this was the first time I'd really done lace. It's probably not the best pattern to start with if you've never done lace before. So that's probably my mistake. But anyway, it works. It's beautiful. I love it. I really suggest this pattern. Probably want to make sure your kids are away whenever you do your first podcast, but whatever. So if you haven't tried the Find Your Fade yet, try it. Just make sure you have a lot of yarn. I am going to do the Sew Faded sweater because yeah, I really don't know. I mean, I want to do a sweater. I've never done a sweater before. And I really feel like the fingering weight, although it's going to take forever, I feel like a fingering weight sweater is something that I would actually wear. I mean, I live in Tennessee. It doesn't get very cold here. I love the cold weather. I don't do well with hot weather. So, you know, I stay hot a lot. And so I just don't think a worsted weight sweater is going to work for me. It's not going to be something that I would wear very much because I just never get that cold. So I might wear it a few times a year whenever it gets down to 20 here, which is not very often. But for the most part, I think I would wear a fingering weight sweater, like probably a lot. So I'll just, you know, power through, and someday, maybe by October, I will have it finished. But anyways, we'll get to that sweater in just a minute, because that's all the finished objects I have. So we're going to get started with the whips. I'm going to take a little break and see if I can calm him down just a bit, and I will be back.